We are in Phoenix at the Bayer Ag Issues Forum, and we're going to talk now about what's going on in D.C. government policy with Jim McVaney, Senior Director of Federal Regulations and Policy. Well, Jim, we've done an awful lot of discussion about a new Congress. Many folks think that brings new hope, new opportunity, but the challenges still remain.
They do. It's going to be a very active 2 years in Washington, both from a congressional perspective as well as from an administration perspective. With the President Obama being term limited and out in 2 years, we're expecting, as you do see from any president that's in that situation, an aggressive regulatory agenda that moves forward policy positions that they had otherwise been unable to move in the prior years. We're expecting the EPA to be particularly aggressive in the area, particularly of crop protection chemistries. We've seen a lot of attention being paid first from the White House and then the USDA and EPA on the pollinator health issue. One of our crop protection chemistries, neonicotinoids, are in that debate, likely not justifiably in that debate, and we're very carefully watching that situation.
As we talk about the nuts and bolts of legislation, probably right now and for the next foreseeable future, probably doing a lot of Hill visits just to inform some of these new members, not only the role Bayer plays in the big picture, but just talking about some of the science, because it seems that debate is continual. Whose science do you believe, in a sense? But we all kind of know science is science.
Science should be science. Unfortunately, in the popular culture, there's not as much belief in science as there used to be, and that's because groups have been able to bend and meld science, I do that with the quotes, into something that it traditionally has not been. What our role in Washington is, my role, others with Bayer and my counterparts with our friends in the industry and up and down the value chain, from the farm groups, the grower groups, to the transport groups and others, is to educate members of Congress and the agencies on what science is, how we work in the scientific realm. Bayer lives, eats, and breathes science. Our business doesn't exist without it. And it's a challenge in Washington right now because of, just as everyone is overwhelmed with information and different opinions, we're battling to stay in front of members of Congress and regulators so that we can have the dialogue and we can present them in a transparent way our science and what we do with it and how we learn from it, so that they can use that and put it into their process and make sound science, risk-based decisions.
As we talk about regulation and the EPA and other agencies trying to either leave their lasting mark or trying to follow in their philosophy of doing things, how's Bayer received? How optimistic are you that they're listening and taking in your thoughts and considerations, into their considerations as we move forward?
Well, we have traditionally been very well received. The company has a great reputation in Washington. It's in large part because we produce great products and we try to be very transparent in how we develop them and market them. And more importantly, our customers support us where they can, in not just the commercial sense, but in the political sense. So Bayer, I think, is better positioned than some of our competitors in Washington. I would say product-wise, we're better positioned in the marketplace.
All right, so as we look, this new Congress, as we kind of said at the top, brings new opportunity, but it seems like that window is not open very large because there'll be the 2016 election and some possible changes there. We know we'll have a change in the White House. So I guess maybe talk about it from your standpoint. We talk an awful lot with the politicians and those members on how they're trying to get things done. From your standpoint, from not only from a lobbyist and from an education standpoint, talk about kind of that first year of a new Congress and how can you get kind of all of it done, or what you need to get done.
Well, I would say one of the things that has not happened in Washington for several years is what you would call regular order on the budget process. Congress hasn't passed a traditional budget bill and appropriations bills in, I think, 5 or 6 years. So there's a lot of hope, bipartisan hope, bisectoral hope, I would maybe create a word to say that, that we will get back to regular order and pass the appropriations bills, most of them as it has traditionally been done. That process has already begun. The The House and the Senate are having budget hearings this week. I believe Secretary Vilsack is before the House Ag Committee or Ag Appropriations Committee today. So it's started in earnest. That's a good sign. We expect that that's going to take several months to get through the regular process of doing those hearings, having the dialogues, and then marking up the bills. Past that point, call it end of spring, early summer, that's when I think you will see the committees turning to issues that are not just budget implication issues. I would also back up and say that they've already started more Farm Bill implementation hearings. Senator Roberts from Kansas had one, I believe, last week or 2 weeks ago, and we'll see more of those. And that's very important to continue that on, but there's going to be a lot of opportunities for them to keep an eye on what the agencies are doing, which is their constitutional responsibility.
All right, Jim, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ken.
Jim McVaney with the Bear. He is the Senior Director of Federal Relations and Policy. That's the Ag View from Phoenix. I'm Ken Rogers.